All right.
Hello.
Hello there.
Hi,
Welcome,
everybody.
everyone.
Oh,
Welcome
Karl, you
to,
got a new house.
Yeah,
Paul
this
got
is
a new house.
it's definitely my new house and not background at all.
It looks very nice. Very
Mm,
Yep.
nice. Very, very American as well.
Yeah,
yes, go play us a
definitely.
little tune on that piano.
Yeah, hang on. I'll get up and I'll go play that
Yeah,
piano back there.
that one there.
All right. Back to Wesley. Will you lead the intro? Yes, I will. So don't interfere with my intro. Welcome, everyone.
Sorry.
Welcome to a new episode of Cloud Native Weekly. Today, obviously, we've got some news to share. Karl is back. Welcome
Woo.
back, Karl. We don't know where you
Hi.
were last week. You weren't here.
I
Uh,
was in London
he
for
was making money.
yeah.
Karl was making
Yeah.
money. So officially, we did not congratulate you on your renewal for the MVP
Yes.
award. Congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you, and same to you, gents.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. You're all so calm now, but when we do the intro, I can see the videos down here. You can all do the weirdest stuff ever.
Have to
All right.
project calm.
Yeah. All right. So, how's the last week been, Karl? Oh, I think Karl
Oh,
just
I think he's frozen.
Karl. Yeah, I think. Yeah. All right. So, how was your week, Richard?
So my week's not too bad. Lots of infrastructure as code, some security reviews on like access into infrastructure deployments and stuff. So paperwork, bicep. Yeah, it's been quite a fun week. Lots of sort of testing bicep with new features as well, which has been quite fun. So hopefully there'll be a blog post about that at one point.
Yeah, I've seen some of that. That definitely looks very interesting.
Hmm.
I think Karl still. Last
He's
time that
just gone.
he just went. Last time we had that was about a year ago, maybe even longer. That he had a Windows
Yeah.
Update trigger, wasn't that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was
Halfway
that
through a
was
live stream.
that was fun. All right. Yeah, my week was my week. I've been traveling to the office a couple of times because we have a new employee from the UK who flew in this week. So been going back and
Very
forth. Yeah, lots of meetings. Been playing with our bicep internally. Seeing we can standardize some nice Azure Linux stuff in there.
Yep.
Also, very interesting. You and I have been working on nothing Kubernetes related, but it's still cloud native storage accounts in Azure with the new Microsoft Defender malware add-on. We've been
Yes.
playing with building a logic app, automatically deleting malware that's been detected.
It worked.
It worked. I read on Twitter, but we had chats internally that the bicep was more work than we anticipated. But the initial deployment of getting this to work was surprisingly quick. It was a couple of minutes.
Definitely. The logic app in Bicep or any infrastructure as code is just absolute nightmare. So my advice to anyone who wants to do it, create it in the portal first and then export it because it'll be so much easier.
Yeah, so you have something to go on.
Yep.
I think our other challenge was Event Grid as well, with subscriptions needing to be created, waiting for that. But in the end, I really like that feature on the malware stuff. It was 5 seconds, 6 seconds before it detected the file and deleted it.
Yeah, which is so much better than the previous method where it just did it ad hocly whenever it felt like it.
I felt that was more of a time trigger kind of thing. But we saw with this one that it actually deploys Event Grid as well, or an Event Grid topic. So it's very event driven, which is my assumption. It's got some event driven stuff in the background. Doing this on posting a new blob, it does something. Well, we're waiting for Karl to be back. No, we're not going to wait. We're just going to continue. But I am going to check WhatsApp to see if he lost his thing.
Good idea.
Oh, yes. That there's some power issues. I see.
Oh, very cool.
Power just
That's what happens when you live in a big house like that. The generators just haven't kicked in quick enough for him. But yeah.
When he watches this back, we're going to get an earful.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So, we've got a nice thing for that. We're going to take a look at some news.
Yeah.
Is it coming? It's coming back. All right. So the first news is AKS community meeting. It's happening.
Yes, finally. So we had the AKS office hours before, which was led by the global black belt team for quite a long time. But they went away. People left Microsoft. They went to go work somewhere else. And then it just sort of fizzled out. And we've finally got this new one back. It's going to be based on YouTube instead of Teams. Hey, Karl. And yeah, the first one is on Friday, July 21st, 5:30 UTC +1. So it's going to be good. If you're in Australia or somewhere else, not so good, but you can watch it and catch up because it's on YouTube. And yeah, it's good to see it back. I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Oh, you can see the rest of me now. Yeah, definitely looking forward to those kicking off again and seeing what we can do in the community. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the office hours, so this ought to be good. And it's on YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's nice. So, Karl, what happened?
Small power blip, and I won't give any more details than that. So. But I'm back, and the internet works again, so yeah, all good.
Back.
Sorry about that.
The next part of news is for you.
Yeah, so Cryo, which I have never used. Thanks for putting me on the spot. So Cryo graduates to be a graduated CNCF project. So Richard, what do you know about Cryo?
So you're probably only ever going to use it if you're using Azure Red Hat OpenShift. But it's good to see that it's graduated. You know, it's good to have other different container runtimes. Obviously, Kubernetes defaults to container D now. But yeah, it's always nice to see a project like Cryo being graduated and other projects being graduated. We've seen quite a few lately as well, which is really good. So hopefully that continues and there's room for new projects in the CNCF.
I was gonna create a like the Oprah meme. You get a graduation. You get a graduation. You get a graduation. Everyone gets a graduation. I know, but it's good because for a long time it's been a little quiet. Not that there was no progress, but I feel that it's good. It's good for visibility. More graduations. It's good for the people who work on it. It's definitely recognition for the people working on it. And it also helps. They've got a very nice picture on how this works at the CNCF website. Overcoming the chasm, like where you got the early adapters, and then you go from
what?
there.
The
chasm. The chasm. Sorry, I'm not English, you guys. I'm not. Chasm.
It's okay. We'll forgive you.
Did I say something really dumb then?
No. It was just a funny way you said it.
Yeah, I mean, graduate CNCF project graduating. I mean, the diagram or the image on the CNCF website really shows the uptick in use between incubated projects and sandbox and incubated and then graduated. So I mean, graduating will also open up the project like Kita and Istio recently as well to such a wider base of users, because some businesses, and I know we talk sometimes about enterprise IT and the adoption of Kubernetes, but some businesses like enterprises won't adopt stuff while it's in that incubating stage because it's changing so much. There is a debate to be had about the cloud native world in general and how much it changes and how enterprises need to be okay with that rate of change, but that's an entire show's worth of discussion, so we'll leave that there.
We could have one at some point. Before we go to new, I still have. So you pronounce it chasm instead of chasm.
Yep.
Right. So then, what do you do when you read a book? You go to the next chapter or chapter. What
chapter?
Someone
welcome to the English language.
Listen, I didn't invent the English language, but
you're all just making fun of me.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, Carpenter. Windows container support.
Woo-hoo.
Yes. That's awesome, right?
It's really good news.
It's I think we see Windows container support growing or increasing more and more. I think the first I know we know Microsoft with AKS did a lot of effort. They put in a lot of effort making Windows ready to be containerized. That was already a couple of years ago, but I think they redid very big, very a lot of stuff in the networking stack that had to be done. And what I really like is that you now see more and more projects and more solutions supporting Windows containers. Obviously, I still have a preference for Linux containers. I think most people do, but the use case is definitely growing. And then if you go back to what Karl just said, enterprise IT, you can't just get rid of, you want to containerize stuff. You might be doing some Linux containers, but you also have a lot of Windows stuff still up and running. You don't want to spend 3 years of redeveloping everything before that can go into a container. So I think it's very good that this is happening.
It certainly eases that on-ramp into using containers, Windows containers existing in general. I mean, your ultimate goal as we're coaching development teams and customers is Linux-based containers because it's going to be cheaper and it's going to be slicker and all of the rest of it. But the fact that Windows containers exists, it really it makes that on-ramp a lot less steep for any business, not just enterprises. But yeah, I mean, especially if you're coming from what might be an IIS based or a Windows based workload. Let's not move it to app service, perhaps. Let's move it to Windows containers.
Yes, for sure.
Maybe enterprise is not the right description. Maybe it's software companies with that have been around for 20, 25 years, develop stuff on Windows. You're not going to get rid of that overnight, but now you have more and more options. We do actually see that happening at customers as well. Windows containers. If you asked me a year ago, 2 years ago, I'd say, well, probably not. But now, well, yeah, the use case is there. Why not? Why not? It's not a short-term solution anymore. It's something that can run for a couple of years if you need to.
And it's near enough feature parity with Linux and most of the cloud operators now. So definitely give it a go.
Yeah, I think the only difference you'll mainly see is that when new stuff comes out, it's support Linux first, but Windows is always on the roadmap, so it'll come eventually.
Yep.
So that's very, very good. All right. Network observability.
So I definitely like to try and shoehorn a bit of networking into any cloud native discussion, But you'll remember an episode or two back we talked about network observability add-on going public preview in Azure. So yeah, check out the walkthrough by Microsoft staff member Paul Yu about enabling that and what you can get from it. So works with both Azure CNI and the Cilium CNI as well. So works with Linux and Windows containers. I mean, plenty of metrics and plenty of information you can get there. And that link will take you to a walkthrough that will run you through getting that set up in your environment so you can have a play.
And something completely off topic. I'm seeing the word observability popping up left and right, everywhere. What happened? What's happening? It's the new buzzword, observability. We built something. Let's chuck some observability. It's a good add-on. Don't get me wrong, but chuck some observability in there, and you have success.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
I was just going to. I'll go first. I was just going to say most software companies, even Microsoft and that, build their applications and always forget about monitoring, and it always comes at a later date. And I think that's just what's happening now. People are building Kubernetes, cloud native applications, and they're thinking, "Oh, we forgot about monitoring." And then this new observability word comes in, and you're observing your whole platform now instead of just monitoring one application.
I mean, maybe we'll have to do a show on observability on cloud native platforms like Kubernetes and what that might look like, not just networking, but end to end. So cluster, nodes, pods, applications, the works. So maybe have to do an episode on that soon.
I think we definitely should. And I think it's also the same journey that that one started a bit earlier, but that we have with security. I mean, we built something, let's have a look at security. We need to shoehorn a lot of security stuff in, but that's changing, and I think the same is happening for monitoring, like Richard just said. And now we call it observability, which sounds fancier than monitoring and alerting.
Yes.
All right. Well, now it's time for 10 minutes in tech. Helm.
So
Helm.
I'm about to ask, what have we got this week? But you beat me to the punch. So
we got Helm. Everyone, Helm.sh. It's Helm time. Doesn't sound like hammer time, but it's Helm time. It is Helm time. Close enough. Yeah. We got my screen to share. First things first. Do we use Helm? Karl?
Yes, quite a lot.
When I get the chance, sure.
Yeah, it's,
when you're not doing exchange.
Yeah, when I'm not doing exchange or ARC.
All right, let's not go there.
Let's not start a fight, Hooper.
Yes, sorry.
All right. We're also not going to discuss or talk about customize here. That's for a different show. We're also not looking to start a war like Bicep versus Terraform, that kind of stuff. Nope, we're going to talk about Helm today. And Helm is a package manager. You can find it at helm.sh. You have to install the command helm.sh. Yes, helm.sh. Yeah, or on Twitter at HELMpack. I think my main question is always, why are people not using Helm? And the same thing as why you're not using Customize, right? It's why are you not using something to help you scale your deployments on Kubernetes? Quite often we see customers mainly customers, Richard and I, and previously Karl as well, but then he decided to move. But we discussed it with a lot of customers. They just do the normal Kubernetes stuff. They just have the manifests, and that works. I think that works for a while until, and that's what happens in the cloud native landscape and in the cloud native world. We all get excited about containers. We got one running, we got two running. We make sure we have deployments. We follow some best practices, and then at the end of the year, we end up with 100 containers and maybe even 500 different customers on the same platform. How are you going to scale those deployments? How are you going to manage that? I think the biggest problem with just the manifest, with just Kubernetes, is there is no, once you deploy, it's kind of like fire and forget. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but if we just do kubectl apply and then apply a regular YAML file, there's no longer a connection to what's running and a package or what's running locally. Or there's a nice trick where you can do kubectl delete -f and it will delete everything that's in the YAML. But what if that changed in the YAML? What if you've been dev testing? What if you forgot about a bit of source control and different branching strategies, and then you change the original YAML? Now, if you're talking about hundreds of deployments and you need to clean that up, or you need to upgrade them, that's going to be quite a thing, right? That's quite the challenge. So I think, what was it? A couple of years ago, we decided we're going to standardize everything in Helm and try to push all the customers to using Helm because that works best for us. And let's just look at a regular example. Let's just start with a very basic example. It's also very easy to install. You just need to make sure you install it locally. You've got your Helm stuff installed. I think it was Helm version 2, where you also had to do a lot of stuff in your cluster as well.
Yes, that was
horrible. I think it was Tiller and all that stuff. That was we don't even have to talk about that. That no longer. Well, technically it exists, and technically you might still have, Karl, you might still have enterprises that have that, but it's very unlikely. I mean, just use the latest version of Helm, and it's going to make you very happy. Yep. Let's just start with a very simple example. And the main difference is that normally when you do the regular manifest, you hard code everything, right? Maybe you've got your deployment.yaml, or give it a customer name. You give it a name, and then you hard code all the values that you have. So you would have your replica set to a number. You would have your label set to a number. You would have, I've got everything in one file because that's easier to demo, so you don't have to click back and forth. Normally, the best practice, if I would do this in production, Richard would probably fly over and smack me in the face because why are you doing this?
A couple of times, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, but no, here we just specify multiple YAMLs in one file. But normally this will be hard coded. So let's say you have multiple customers and you have a kind of single tenant solution. I know we're always pushing you want to do multi-tenancy, but there's a lot of reasons to do single tenancy, whether that's for security reasons, or maybe that's how your application works, because you don't redevelop things overnight. So you want to do multiple deployments, but you don't want the same amount of YAML files that you have customers. That's you don't want that. That's just too much management, and at some point, you're gonna make a mistake. You get deviation, because are you sure that you have the same configuration for customer 1 as you have for customer 75, for example? You want to make sure everything is the same. You want to be able to version things, and that's when Helm comes in. So with Helm, you have a chart to navigate through your cluster. No, you have a chart, and that chart basically is just a definition of the chart.yaml. That's where it starts, just a definition of what's running. You can see that back in the metadata. Nothing in this will be deployed, but it will show when you do a Helm ls, so you Helm list the packages that you have installed. And we have a values file and we have a deployment file. The deployment file is basically it's the parameterized version of your regular YAML. That's probably the best way to describe it. And then we've got the values file where all our values for those parameters are documented. Now, there's multiple ways to deploy a Helm chart. You can do it from the command line, you can do it from pipelines. Right now, we're just going to do it from command line locally on, through my Windows terminal. And we just deploy these files, but you can also package them. You can also package your Helm charts. When you install something like Nginx and use the public repositories, you use Helm to grab the Nginx package or the Nginx controller, and you install it on your cluster using Helm. And then you can version it, you can add parameters, you can add your specific values. I think pretty much every cluster we deploy these days, we do that through Helm stuff, kind of like the bootstrapping process. You can have your stuff stored in a repository and do GitOps with Flux, like Robert just presented last week. So we've got the chart, we've got a values file, and this is a very, very basic example, definitely not production ready, but we've got something. We've got deployment name, we've got an image name, we've got a host name, we've got image location, just the basic stuff. We're just going to keep it very simple. So this is the values file. This is what I want to look at when I start deploying. And then we have my deployment file, which I just briefly showed. And here I'm just referencing my values file. It's .values and then deployment name. So going to my values file, values.yaml, and look at a value, or look at the deployment name. The same for my host name, the same deployment name again. And this, you can also see this. If this was hard coded and I had to change the deployment name, or I had to change this specific name, I had to do a lot of search and replace. Obviously that works, but it's not the best thing to do. You just want to make sure I need to change one value, everything deploys out of the box, just works. So this is just going to deploy a pod, a service, and an ingress, and then it should all be up and running. And we do that by using the command line. So we've got Helm. It's got a bunch of options. There's way more options than documented in the standard dash help. If you go to helm.sh, lots of examples. I think GitHub also has a lot of examples on Helm. But if I do Helm ls, I'm connected to my cluster. Nothing is currently running. I'm currently in a different directory. So what I want to do is go into my pod service ingress directory. And what you can see here is that this is the directory. I've got the templates, the chart, and the values. So if I were to deploy this, I can do Helm. I'm starting with upgrade and then -- install. So what this does, this is what we do in a lot of automation scripting. Normally, you could just do Helm install and then reference the package or the Helm chart that you have. But what if it already exists? Then you probably want to upgrade it with the latest version. So this will do an upgrade, but if it's not there, it will do an install. So I kind of like to refer to this as Helm upgrade or install. And then I'm going to give it a name, and we'll call it Helm Demo 1. And I just want to deploy the Helm chart in the current directory. Now it says Helm demo does not exist, installing now. So this is basically what happens when you do the upgrade or install. And it's deployed, it's revision 1. And now if I do a Helm ls, we can see that the Helm demo 1 has been deployed. And this is the chart. This is the chart it deployed. It grabs this from the chart file, and the app version is documented in there as well. It says status deployed. It can also say status failed. Default namespace, who's doing that? I know it's
terrible.
a default namespace. It's more parameters in the command line if it's not the default name. Obviously, you don't want to do it in the default namespace. Sorry about that.
No. But for demo purposes, it's fine.
I'm just wondering whether this was Karl or Richard.
Oh, 100% it was Karl.
It was Karl. It was Karl. All right. If we do kubectl get pods, we can see that these pods are now running. They're managed through a Helm chart. I can do kubectl get ingress. We can see that the test URI is running here. I don't have DNS connected or any other public stuff, but this is what it deployed. It deployed pod. It deployed 3 pods, replicas. It deployed a service. It deployed an ingress. And it's now connected to that Helm chart. So even if I were to delete, my Helm chart locally, the Helm chart is still on the system. Normally, if you just do the regular manifest, then, well, you would have to go in and do a kubectl delete deployment, and delete the servers, and make sure everything is gone. Also, now if I want to upgrade, I can change the version in my chart. I can do an Helm upgrade, and it will deploy the new version. So in my example, I've got Karl. You didn't notice that. I did Nginx latest. You never want to do latest. I mean, listen to what Robert said last week. You never want to do latest, but this works for the demo. But if you would change the image version, you could do an Helm upgrade. It would upgrade to a new version. And then you're getting to a point, hey, it's Friday afternoon. Let's make it challenging. 4 p.m., let's roll out a new version to production. Doesn't work. Then what you can do is Helm roll back to a previous version, and it will just start the previous version, and you quickly fixed your boo-boo on the Friday afternoon. So that's the kind of thing that Helm provides, right? That's a very nice way. You can also do that with regular YAML through pipelines, but I really like the Helm way of doing it. If we want to uninstall it, we can just do Helm uninstall, and we what did I call it? Helm demo 1. And it's gone. And now if we do Helm ls, we can see that this is gone. If we do kubectl get pods, they're gone. So that's
nice, isn't it? It's how you just one command deletes all of the stuff that was in that template. Whereas, like you said, with the YAML files, you'd have to go kubectl if you've deleted it locally or can't find it locally because it was a long time ago. You have to find every resource that was attached to that manifest originally and delete each one individually. Whereas here, one liner, it's all gone.
Exactly. And I think about stuff like secrets. I mean, obviously you want to do, you want to have good secrets management, but what if you deployed some secrets and you delete a lot of stuff, but you forget about the secrets? There could be, certificates in there. There could be connection strings in there that you want them to be gone, but what if they still live there? What if you deploy something else and you reuse the name of the secret? You don't know what's going to happen. That might be a whole. So it's not just a nice way of deploying. It's actual life cycle management of your stuff running on Kubernetes, and that's what Helm is really powerful in. But there's more. What if you right now we just had one ingress? What if you have one solution, but every customer gets their own URI. Every customer gets their own personalized URI to connect to the platform. You still have one deployment, a set of pods running. You've got a service. But a new customer joins, or you've got 200 customers, you don't want 200 ingress objects, right? You don't want, which one was it? It was this one. You don't want to copy this 200 times for every single customer, because if you would copy this, you would even, if you would do this in regular manifest, you would have, the name of the customer here or the URI. You would click and copy paste, essentially having a file per customer. If you would do it in Helm like this, you would have to do hostname 1, hostname 2, hostname 3, and then have all those hostnames in your values file. But there's a nice trick to this. And this is where Helm becomes especially powerful, and that's the kind of thing I like. If we look at this, and it's still a Helm chart, just a different deployment, different values file. We still want to deploy the pod, the service, the ingress, but we just want to define the host. So we want to have two ingress objects, episode1.cloud and weekly.cloud. This URI does not exist. Maybe we should register it or something. I don't know. We've got a second one. I could have a third one. But what I want is to run the same block of code, but I want to do that for each customer. Normally, you would do the copy pasting, multiple YAMLs, but then we also have, looping constructs. We can do way more in Helm than we can do on Kubernetes normally. So what we have here, what we're saying is, all right, we need multiple ingress objects. And what I'm doing here is saying, all right, the range, just look at the range in the values file for the ingress.hosts, which is this ingress.hosts. And we can have multiple hosts here. What it will do is iterate over that object the amount of times that there are entries, and it will rerun it over and over and over again until it's done. And the first time we started playing with this, it looked very complex, but once you've got it up, you can make it as complex as you want. But this is so extremely powerful and something that I underestimated a lot a couple of years ago. I think it's now kind of a standard. We do this a lot. Even for the smallest things, we use Helm files or deployment files like this. But now if we were to deploy this, I just go into that directory, which is pod service ingress loop. I'm going to do a Helm upgrade or install. Install, no typos. We'll call it Helm loop 1 in the current directory. Installing now. It's done. We can do a kubectl get pods. Oh my God, Karl.
Sorry, I'll stop.
All right, this one has got 2 replicas, but you see that it's up and running. But now if you look at the ingress, whereas in the previous example, we had 1 ingress object, so 1 URI. If we do get ingress, we now see that we've got 2 of them. We've got two hosts, and we still only use 1 values file and 1 deployment file. Now, let's say we want to add a couple more. We can go into our, which one was it? This one. We can go into our values file. We're just going to copy paste this. Make sure the indentation works.
Yeah, always make sure that indentation is correct.
Yeah.
Too many errors otherwise.
Exactly. So we're going to add these. And let's also do version 1.1. So this. And then what we're going to do now is do the same thing. I'm just going to clear. We do Helm upgrade or install. So now it shouldn't say unknown, I'm installing it. It should actually start upgrading it. And you can see that here has been upgraded. So it's not installing. It detected, hey, it's there already. This Helm chart or this deployment already exists. It's revision 2. We can do an Helm ls. And we can see that it's now app version 1.1.1. So that's kind of the lifecycle management. But now if we do kubectl get ingress, we can see we've got episode 1, 2, 3, and 1 more, and that can be a whole list. You can have 20, you can have 100, but still with the same amount of files and only 1 addition to the file per customer. You just added the URI. Now, this is just for URIs, but you can do the same thing with deployments. Maybe you want a deployment per customer. So you would have a values file that's something like, all right, have a list of customer names and then loop through it. You could do it from the command line, just pass the parameters to the Helm upgrade or install command. There's 1,000 ways of doing this, but this just shows how powerful it is.
Mm-hmm.
What I found is starting with examples like these is very easy. Starting with the documentation from scratch and actually scaffolding a Helm chart with all the other things in there that you probably don't need for your first deployment. That made it very complex for me. The best way for me to learn about Helm and work with it is just grabbing an existing deployment, existing YAML, refactor it like this, until you get to a point where you're so excited, you're going to add more values, more parameters, and it just works. It makes you happy. It gives you satisfaction. That's
I like it.
I can't be more excited about Helm. I love it. It's just so good.
Definitely makes life easier.
It definitely does. Well, that was my demo.
Cool.
What I recommend is everyone just try it. If you're not doing Helm or customize, maybe you use something else, anything else. But if you're not using a package manager, definitely invest the time in doing it. It will make your life a lot easier. It will also make your whole deployment more predictable. You can roll back. You know what's happening. You know that you only touched a very small part of the whole deployment. You just added a value, so you know all the other stuff is still there. You did not mess up an indentation, because that always happens when you actually change all the YAML files. I mean, even people working with it every day, there's always going to be some error, cannot find spec, blah, 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 blah. Then you messed up and you have to redo it over and over again. It's just a very powerful tool to use.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. It definitely makes my life easier. And then I guess before we go, there's one last thing I want to shout out about. And I just put a link up here. It's a LinkedIn post. So our very own Karl Cook has been nominated for the Azure Evangelist Award for the UK Community Awards. So hopefully we can start voting soon. But yeah, congratulations, mate. I'm very happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're all going to be voting.
Yes.
Yeah, appreciate it. So yeah, there's a lot of really awesome community folks nominated across the board, and some really awesome community folks nominated in the same category as me. So when voting opens, get out there and vote for the people that make a difference to your day-to-day tech life.
Vote for Karl. Vote for this guy.
Yeah. You should start a hashtag vote for Karl.
Oh, we should do that. We should do that on Twitter, starting in probably 5 minutes.
Yes.
Aside from what those two say, get involved if you're in the UK, and vote for the people in the tech community that make a difference.
We're your campaign team, mate. We're your campaign team.
We'll write you some speeches with ChatGPT. It's fine.
Yep. Sounds good. And I record myself and giving them on Twitter or something. Yep. Sounds good.
And, when can we already vote?
I think 1st of September, I think, is when the voting opens. And then I think if you make it into the finalists for each category, the ceremony is during South Coast Summit, right?
Something like that, yeah.
So middle of October, I think, South Coast Summit, 13th, 14th of October, I think.
All right. So we have some time to make some campaigning videos.
Yes.
It's September 1.
Yeah.
September 1st. Voting starts now. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's I know we're only a couple of weeks away from the honoured and privileged being renewed as an MVP, but it's an honour to be nominated. So thank you to whoever
it is
nominated me. It's awesome.
You definitely deserve it, mate.
Yep.
All right. Even
just
with the annoying default namespace stuff, I'll forgive you.
Yeah. Oh, not again.
All right.
Great show. Great demo.
Yeah. I think we're done for today. That's it.
Yeah, for sure.
Tomorrow we're going to decide about next week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Customize. Who knows?
Maybe a bit too soon.
We don't want to start an argument here.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
We'll have a thing.
I wish you all a very good day. Thank you for watching. Karl, Richard. Looking forward to seeing you again next week.
See you later.
See you later. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.